Hey, what's up, everybody? Josh here with ATX Guitar Lessons. Before we get started, I just want to say thanks for watching. Please subscribe and like. The more you guys do that, the more videos I can make. I'm also willing to take requests. Anyways, so this video is going to be about rhythm and strumming. It's going to be to help you guys figure out ways to connect your counting, which you definitely want to be doing with your strumming, and kind of get all these different things where it feels like we're multitasking, but they're all interconnected. So we're doing like 3 or 4 things at once, but it's really just one thing, and we don't really have to think about each thing individually. I do a little bit of teaching or instruction in the form of, calling out the direction down, up, down, and that works as far as repeating something back and mimicking. But I think it's very important to understand rhythm, because the more you understand it, the easier it is for your ear to pick up on it and to hear a song and say, oh, I know exactly what's going on there. So a couple of basics that we need to talk about before we start is we're talking about a 1 measure strumming pattern, right? So we're just thinking of 1 measure of 4 beats. So that's 1 measure of 4/4. The beat is represented by a quarter note, right? So that's our single beat rhythm. So we're going to be talking about 3 different rhythms here, and we're going to incorporate that into our strumming, and we're going to incorporate that into our counting in different ways. So the 3 rhythms we're going to be looking at are quarter notes, which take up 1 beat, eighth notes, which you can fit 2 in 1 beat, and then 16th notes, which you can fit 4 in 1 beat. So it's like we cut the quarter note in half, and you get 2 eighth notes. You cut each eighth note in half, and you get 4 16th notes in 1 beat. So the syllables we use for counting, I'm sure most of you are familiar with counting quarter notes. It's just counting the beat. That's what gets the number 1, 2, 3, 4. Something that's a little confusing to some of my students and just guitar players in general as they're learning is they learn how to count that beat, that number, but they tend to think that that quarter note only lasts as long as they say 1 or 2 or 3. You want to hold that out so you get the sense of, okay, well, a quarter note is a certain amount of time. If I'm using a specific tempo, say my beat is about like that, my quarter note starts at the beginning of the snap, but it goes all the way till just before the next snap. So 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a whole bunch more time in there after the beginning of the beat where we have things that we can use and manipulate the strumming pattern. So that's where the eighth notes and 16th notes come in. So anyways, I'm going to give you guys different ways to think about it. So the most basic one we're going to start off with, of course, I'm just going to use the C major chord, for example, and we're just going to count evenly. That's very important that you're always counting evenly. Just count 1, 2, 3, 4 and strum down on each number. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to split that into eighth notes, so we're going to get 2 strums per beat instead of 1 strum per beat. And the syllable used for the 2 eighth notes is 1, or the number, and then and. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. What we end up feeling is it feels like we're strumming faster. The tempo is still the same, but the eighth notes happen quicker because they're only a half of a beat each, right? So that would be something like this, and we're going to strum down on the number, up on the and. Here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So that's one of the very basic things is your right arm is now moving in eighth notes. So when people are talking about down, up, that's connecting you to the rhythm of eighth notes. in a lot of cases. Sometimes it'll be different. There's tons of variations, but this is a good way to teach yourself to think about it. So going down on the number and up on the and just feeling it as evenly as possible. So you can think of it as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, just to help your mind get into counting it evenly, but then just make every other number an and. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Those eighth notes are representing your downbeat and upbeat. Okay, and then the next one would be moving to 16th notes. So now we're dividing each beat by 4, right? So on each beat, we're going to strum down, up, down, up. And the syllables we're going to use for that are 1 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and okay, so that's just to get what we're saying. You know, eventually you won't be saying these syllables out loud. You'll be thinking them because you always want to be counting. And different ways to do that, moving your arm down and up in eighth notes or 16th notes and knowing which one of those you're choosing to do, tapping your foot, always tapping on the floor on the number 1, 2, 3, 4, doing that while you're strumming, and then of course counting in your head. But right now we're going to do it counting out loud because it forces you to think about it, because I think you'll find when you try these things it's pretty easy for you to forget about counting. So a couple different ways to think about this. I'm just going to strum quarter notes, but to help me hear eighth notes and 16th notes, I'm going to count those different rhythms over my quarter note strum, over my single beat strum. So the first one will be exactly like what we did before. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm playing quarter notes, I'm thinking quarter notes. Now I'm going to play quarter notes and think eighth notes. So I'm going to count 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and evenly. So I'm going to be saying 2 syllables per strum. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, now we're going to take that a step further and we're going to count 16th notes. So I'm going to count 16th notes, still be playing quarter notes. Okay. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and. Okay, so it's kind of dividing this process up of I'm doing one thing with my mouth, or if I'm counting it with my voice, or if I'm counting it in my head. So I'm thinking one particular rhythm, but I'm strumming another particular strumming pattern, which is just quarter notes now. So we kind of get our brain disconnected a little bit and think about these different things rather than just, counting 1, 2, 3, which kind of gets a little dull and it feels too natural, right? We need to kind of break out of that, challenge ourselves a little bit. So now let's kind of reverse that process, and I'm going to do the same thing with eighth notes. So I'm going to play eighth notes for each form of counting. All right, so I'm just going to count 1, 2, 3, 4 to start out, but I'm going to be playing eighth notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then your next step, count eighth notes, play eighth notes, which we already did. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then count 16th notes and play eighth notes. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and and then the final one, we're going to strum 16th notes, and we're going to count quarter notes, and then we're going to strum 16th notes, count 8th notes, strum 16th notes, and count 16th notes. Right? So we're just kind of matching each one up. So starting off counting quarter notes, playing 16th notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now I'm going to count 8th notes and continue to strum 16th notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and now I'm going to count 16th notes and play 16th notes. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. That's it. Just a little simple drill for you guys to start thinking about how to count 16th notes, 8th notes, quarter notes, and to mix and match like what you're saying and what you're playing, so you start to understand what you're actually doing with these rhythms. And if you don't want to count out loud, I highly recommend using a metronome or doing all of what we were just doing together with a metronome. Metronome's very important because you might trick yourself into thinking that you're counting it evenly, but something might go awry and you have to stop, and then the rhythm is kind of disjunct. So that would be, the metronome will hold you true to that. Anyways, guys, if you have any questions about that, it's just kind of a intro to counting and strumming simultaneously. Remember to keep that arm moving continuously. Try and feel as little tension in your arm as possible. Keep it relaxed. Please let me know if you have any questions, comments. Again, please subscribe and like and make requests if you have something that you would like to see a video made of. All right, thanks a lot. Good luck.